Welcome back to the Ross Bolen podcast presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and this will be my final public episode of RBP before the year 2023. Best believe it's going to be a good one, so buckle your seatbelts and hold on to your butts. This was a crazy-ass year for me. I've had a lot of crazy-ass years, and in fact, I've been stacking them since 2019, so 2022 made it 3 in a row. But this was the first of those 3 that I can truly say was mostly crazy in a good way. I got engaged, I got married, I almost immediately got my wife pregnant on purpose, although I didn't think it would happen that fast. I bought a house that I can fit my wife and stepdaughter and 4 dogs in, plus my son once he's born. A lot of crazy, awesome shit happened. And I learned a lot of hard lessons. First off, I learned that the stock market is bullshit, and anyone who tries to tell you they know how the stock market works is a fucking liar. In fact, I would argue that's a great litmus test to drop on new people you meet. What up, blood? My name is, insert your name here. Nice to meet you. Do you know how the stock market works? And if they say yes, then you know that person is a fucking liar. Riding the tech stock wave to the top back in 2020 was tight, though. I was legitimately rich for a calendar year, and it was the worst calendar year of my life, and perhaps in the history of humanity, to be rich. I was rich for 1 year, and that year was the first year of the pandemic, and the year I got divorced, the year I barely left the house and spent 1,000 man-hours playing video games online. The only year of my life I've spent more time crying than I did laughing, and I've been watching my net worth plummet ever since. I thought I bought at the bottom. I was wrong. At one point in 2020, I was up over 300% on my portfolio and laughing maniacally, checking Cash App 40 times a day while cranking and texting my high school group text that my Tesla stock was going to pay for my Tesla. Now, my Cash App portfolio is down 30%. Down 30%, and I'm debating becoming a communist. By my estimation, the stock market is essentially a place for the wealthy to get even wealthier by using the little guys, and it's a place for the little guys to get bent over and take it up the tailpipe. And if you're thinking, no, Ross, you just don't know what you're doing, well, no shit, Sherlock, but I have one question for you. Do you know how the stock market works? In 2022, I also learned that you shouldn't own too many pairs of shoes designed by one rapper because that rapper might go off the deep end and spend entire weeks publicly proclaiming his love for Hitler and the Nazi Party. I keep waiting for Kanye to come out and say slavery had its merits and we should reconsider it because that would be the only way he could possibly stoop any lower. If you're a skinhead with a size 10.5 foot looking to pay a reasonable price on lightly used sneakers, holler at me. In 2022, I also learned that it is actually possible to be happy while completely sober, like totally sober, not just dry from alcohol. I've been dry for 5 years now, but I was fairly high on pot, marijuana, weed, cannabis for a lot of those 5 years. The only drug I've taken in the last 2 months is Allegra, and I'm still alive, which I didn't think was possible. This is the longest I've gone without being fucked up in 20 years. 20 years! Getting fucked up was literally my favorite activity in the world from age 15 to 30. That line in Wolf of Wall Street where Jonah Hill says, "I can't imagine ever not enjoying getting fucked up. I love it," was one of the most identifiable lines I'd ever heard in a movie. Getting fucked up was my number one coping mechanism. And now I'm so sober it's disgusting. But I'm more present than I've ever been. I'm physically and mentally healthier than I've been since childhood. I feel better than I've felt in 15 years, and I feel like all of those things are pretty important going into fatherhood for me personally. No judgment to anyone who gets fucked up. Life is hard. You do what you got to do. But I decided this is what I got to do for me and my family, and it's working. So fuck it. I ride. It turns out that prioritizing my mental health also means sacrificing my old coping mechanisms and learning how to deal with the challenges and stresses of life without eating, drinking, smoking, snorting, or sexing my way through them. On that note, this year I also learned therapy really, really works. Talk therapy with a therapist actually works. But like everything else in life, it only works if you work at it. I made breakthroughs with my therapist this year that will shape the course of the rest of my life, but not only my life, my wife's life, my stepdaughter's life, and my son's life. I'm a better husband and stepdad, an employer, an all-around person because of the work I've done in therapy, and I'm proud of that. Therapy has always helped me feel better, but I didn't know it could actually help me heal from trauma that I didn't even know existed until this year. I learned that my friends who have kids that I've mocked for years for going to bed at 8 o'clock during the work week aren't losers. They're just tired. I learned that homeowners associations should be wiped from the face of the earth, and also that they have racist origins. If you're the president of your HOA and didn't gain that position just to disband the entire institution like Maximus and Gladiator, then you're a power-hungry goofball and need to be getting laid more often. If you're the head of my HOA and listening to this episode, I am coming for your job in 2023, and once I take over the association, I will be destroying it from within to give our neighborhood back to the people, because you are a malignant dictator. In 2022, I learned that some dogs need a GPS tracking device in their collar. And I learned it the hard way. Bruce's big adventure will be a story I tell for the rest of my life and hope to never replicate. I also learned that women are freaks of nature who aren't getting nearly enough credit for keeping the human population rolling. Pregnancy is far and away the most insane thing I have ever witnessed, and I feel like an ignorant buffoon for lacking the respect I should have had for this miraculous process all along. Watching my wife's belly grow as my son grows inside her uterus has been the single coolest thing I have ever seen. I repeat, the single coolest thing I have ever seen, and I once saw myself in the mirror on acid. What women go through as a group to carry humanity from one generation to the next, while men as a group actively shit all over them, strip them of their rights, and generally fail to appreciate them the way they deserve, is truly astonishing. And I'm not virtue signaling here. This is just a fact of life I learned this year. And if you're a cockswinger like me, up in arms over what I'm saying right now, then you probably need to go to therapy and discuss your relationship with your own mother. In 2022, I also learned that most of us aren't doing nearly enough butthole maintenance, and that we should all have 2 loofahs in the shower, one for our 2-hole and one for the rest of our bodies. On a related note, I learned that butt plug urns exist. I learned a lot in 2022, and I fully expect 2023 to be even more full of life lessons as my son is due on February 2nd. This will be my final New Year's as a simple stepdad before I become a dad/stepdad hybrid hero. Frankly, I feel incredibly lucky to still be here after all the mental health struggles I've been through and all the ups and downs that life has thrown my way. There were several periods of time over the last few years that I wasn't sure how much longer I would be here or how much longer I wanted to be here. But my wife and her daughter gave me a reason to stay. My girls and my coworkers and real friends and therapists gave me the support I needed to endure, and I'm just incredibly stoked to continue this ride into another calendar year with all of you. Thank you for being here with me, for sharing in the laughs and the cries, and for supporting me in my career so that I can continue doing this for a living into another year. Today's episode is brought to you by our favorite producers of ball trimmers, Manscaped, the global leaders in below-the-waist grooming, who are leaving 2022 with brand new products. Preserve Cologne and Preserve Body Wash. 2023 is the year to up your hygiene game and smell as amazing as you look, and Manscaped wants to help you do that with this special offer. Use the code RBP for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Take the leap into the new year and join the 7 million men who already trust Manscaped with their family jewels and hygiene habits. Beyond the brand new cologne and body wash, Manscaped provides the best tools known to man for maintaining your downstairs mix-up. And the last thing you want to do is roll into 2023 with a disgusting overgrown pube nest getting in the way of you making it your best year yet. If you're still using an old facial hair razor on your dick and balls, my friend, you are living in the past, and it's time to step into the future with Manscaped. Use the Lawnmower 4.0 to ensure your dong and danglers look their best for the new year. Check out the Weed Whacker to keep your nose and ear hairs at bay. I fucking love the Weed Whacker. It's the Manscaped tool I use the most. Grab the new Preserve cologne and body wash to smell your best. Manscaped has everything you need to take your hygiene to levels you didn't even know existed. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code RBP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping at MANSCAPED, manscaped.com. Just use code RBP and wish a happy new year to your balls. Speaking of balls, after 12 years, 12 seasons, J.J. Watt is walking away from the NFL, which he announced on Twitter with a post including photos of his wife and son. He said, Koa's first ever NFL game. His son's name is Koa, K-O-A. Koa's first ever NFL game. My last ever NFL home game. My heart is filled with nothing but love and gratitude. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure. It's kind of a surprise announcement from JJ. And being from Houston, J.J. Watt served as the face of the Houston Texans franchise during what was inarguably the brightest period in the franchise's existence. I still remember sitting in the stands during the 2011 AFC wildcard game against the Bengals when a rookie J.J. Watt intercepted a rookie Andy Dalton for a pick six just before the half. And it was the loudest I have ever heard that stadium. Definitely started the golden era of Houston Texans football. If you had to pick a golden era for Houston Texans football, it's certainly not now. And just as a reminder, I struck out Andy Dalton in high school. Although perhaps no one has ever been more primed to return from retirement a la Brett Favre and Tom Brady like J.J. Watt, we will commemorate his retirement appropriately with a reading of my own J.J. Watt tweets, which I kept going as a running bit for several years on Twitter. I would send these out in the morning, basically, to motivate people, but also, to make them laugh. They get slightly repetitive at times, but if these don't motivate you to do better, I don't know what will. Here they are. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already taught a powerlifting class for toddlers and been spotted front row at 2 separate Fort Minor concerts. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already saved a hive of honeybees from a bear, made love to a dying nun, and executed a perfect bowel movement. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already crushed a solo gym sesh wearing the full uniform of a fallen soldier and eaten a box of power bars. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already taught a CrossFit class for the elderly, had second breakfast, and led a group of sexually diverse Boy Scouts in singing the national anthem at the hoisting of the American flag. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already reread the entire New Testament and whipped himself with a cat o' nine tails to honor the troops. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already done 1,776 naked up-downs and spoon-fed John McCain a big boy bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt is already overdosing on pre-workout and tweeting Macklemore lyrics. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already taught a blind, deaf, and dumb girl to go through pre-snap reads and breastfed a baby polar bear. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already watched middle school game tape on every QB that was drafted and read the entire Bible aloud in Latin. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already done a shift as a volunteer firefighter and met with the NFLPA to brainstorm safer ways to sack QBs. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already been to church twice, taught a CrossFit class for the homeless, and played 18 holes with wounded vets. This next one was from the 4th of July in 2017. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already planted a small American flag in every yard in his neighborhood and deadlifted 1,776 pounds in the nude. And the most recent one was actually from October of this year. Wake up, losers. J.J. Watt has already done leg day twice, mouth-fed an orphan baby bird, had his heart shocked back into rhythm, and is playing today. Of course, he famously did have his heart shocked back into rhythm. and then did play that day. If this is indeed the end, and I hope it is, because coming back from retirement is extremely played out in the NFL at this point. Salute to you, J.J. Watt. You are among the ultimate American badasses and cheese dicks, and the NFL will not be the same without you. In other sports retirement news, the professional bowler who famously yelled, "Who do you think you are? I am!" after winning his 5th U.S. Open with a championship-clinching strike, Peter Weber, is retiring. I'm assuming it's Weber, not Weber. It's W-E-B-E-R. He's lacking the second B that would make it Weber, so I have to assume it's Weber. Admittedly, not a huge bowling guy, but a huge Peter Weber fan. Today, after announcing he'd be retiring from the PBA National Tour after 41 years, he said, "This is it. I appreciate all the fans I had. Hate me or love me? You watched. That's all you could do. Thank you." What an incredibly bad... This guy, not only did he drop one of the greatest sports quotes of all time, "Who do you think you are? I am." But he goes out with the "hate me or love me? You watched. That's all you could do." I feel like I'm eventually, when I get to retire at the ripe age of 87 years old, because of, the economy and lack of Social Security at that point, presumably, I'm going to have to drop that. Hate me or love me, you listened. That's all you could do. Thank you. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rocket Money. If your New Year's goals are to manage your budget better and save money, you need Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about, like that streaming service you bought to watch just one show on, or that free trial that you never even used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth until it gets done. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. 720. I can't tell you how much money I've wasted on unwanted subscriptions over the years. At one point, I realized I'd still been paying for an annual Xbox Live subscription and had given away my Xbox 4 years prior. That's why Rocket Money exists, baby. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/RBP. That's rocketmoney.com/RBP. ROCKET money.com/RBP.
Grab your light. This is Stuff the Wikipedia when you're high.
Stuff the Wikipedia when you're high.
Today's Stuff to Wikipedia when you're high is Mo Berg. B-E-R-G, Mo Berg. He was an American catcher and coach in Major League Baseball who later served as a spy for the Office of Strategic Services, or OSS, during World War II. Although he played 15 seasons in the major leagues, almost entirely for 4 American League teams, Berg was never more than an average player and was better known for being, quote, the brainiest guy in baseball. He was a graduate of Princeton University and Columbia Law School, which is fairly impressive. Berg spoke several languages and regularly read 10 newspapers a day. Man. So it's like the equivalent of like your friend who's addicted to Twitter. This is what you had to do if you wanted to be that guy back when Berg was rolling around. You had to read 10 newspapers a day. What a fucking nightmare. His reputation as an intellectual was fueled by his successful appearances as a contestant on the radio quiz show Information Please, in which he answered questions about the etymology of words and names from Greek and Latin, historical events in Europe and the Far East, and ongoing international conferences. As a spy, Working for the government of the United States, Berg traveled to Yugoslavia to gather intelligence on resistance groups which the U.S. government was considering supporting. He was sent on a mission to Italy, where he interviewed various physicists concerning the Nazi German nuclear program. And then after the war, Berg was occasionally employed by the OSS's successor, you guessed it, the Central Intelligence Agency. Now, present day, his is the only baseball card on display at the headquarters of the CIA. Berg was actually awarded the Medal of Freedom, which is the highest honor given to civilians during wartime, from President Harry S. Truman for his service. But Berg declined to accept it without any public explanation. Like, he did not publicly explain why he refused to accept the Medal of Freedom. Actually, after he passed, I believe his sister ended up accepting it on his behalf, and they allowed her to do so. In 1996, Berg was inducted into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, and Berg is also the subject of the documentary The Spy Behind Home Plate by Aviva Kempner, which was released just a few years ago, back in 2019. So if you want the specifics of his insane life and story, his Wikipedia page is one of the most extensive I have ever seen. And there's also the documentary as well, The Spy Behind Home Plate, to learn more about today's Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High. Mo Berg. Pretty crazy. Pretty cool stuff. I will be back, by the way, later this week on patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast with another ad-free premium podcast. If you've never joined and supported the show on Patreon, I'd ask that you please do that heading into 2023. I am trying to grow our small business here, based out of Austin, Texas, Bolen Media, to the next level. But truth be told, I cannot do that without more support from our audience. It's just $5, by the way. Just $5 to subscribe on Patreon and immediately gain access to our entire backlog of ad-free episodes, including awesome interviews, hilarious bone zones, tons of hotline calls from the RBP gang. We've been doing Patreon episodes for like at least 5 years, I want to say now. 5 years worth of Patreon episodes you could go listen to, hit the backlog, and enjoy. I mean, there's an interview with Jared and his brother Jeff, which is one of my personal favorites. I also interviewed Jared and his mom at one point a few years back on Patreon as well. So if you want to get to know my co-host, the man they call J-Bone, Jared Borslow, a little bit better, patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast is the perfect place to do that. You can also hear our full interview with Daniel Barouse, which we did a few weeks ago. One of our former co-workers who's on an awesome life trajectory, started his own company, Barouse Works, where he makes awesome modern furniture and art out of recycled skateboards, which is not even a thing that I realized it existed. Really cool. But yeah, we've done a lot on patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast over the years. And as those of you who have kept up with the show are aware, this company is 3 full-time employees, including myself. It's me and Jared Borslow, my co-host, who also runs Formula Bone, our F1 show here at Bolen Media. Follow Formula Bone everywhere at Formula Bone if you're a big fan of F1, and check out his YouTube page at youtube.com/@Formula Bone, where he's got over 75,000 subscribers now that he's built over he's only done 1 full season of F1 coverage. He started at like the 2/3 point of last year's F1 season, I want to say, and then this year's was his first full F1 season, and Formula Bone has been growing like a weed ever since. He's done a phenomenal job with it, Jared has, but it's just me and Jared, and Cade Orris he's like a marketing guru at this point, I would argue. He cuts all the clips from our shows so that they can be distributed on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and on Twitter and Instagram Reels, in an effort to also grow our podcast, which has been phenomenally successful. But 3 of us is not nearly enough to get all of the things done that we need to do. And while we've done really well, I mean, we're a startup. We're on, I think, heading into what would officially be in March. I think it will be 4 years since I founded Bolen Media back in March of 2019. But really, rolling into 2023 will be our first year where we're arguably at even partially full strength, because I've been going through so many different personal ups and downs, as I've discussed on the show, and had a lot of mental health issues that I've had to deal with, and really just building my life back to where I wanted it and needed it to be after everything that went down over the course of 2018, 2019, and 2020. That this feels like the first year that we really have a chance to make this into something special and take Bolen Media to the next level, and that I have the opportunity to really get this podcast, the Ross Bolen podcast, back where I want it to be. I hope you've been able to see and hear and feel the momentum over the last several weeks with Jared and I. I'm really proud of a lot of the episodes that we've done lately. The show is definitely back on par with where I believe the best it's ever been in terms of entertainment value. I've been laughing hysterically almost every single episode we've done. We've had great guests as well. It's been what I want it to be, and now I want to make it even better. The point being, as I feel like I haven't really had the opportunity yet to make this into what I want to make it into, and that's what I'm striving to do in 2023, and I would greatly appreciate your help in getting that done if you can spare it. Like I said, it's just $5 to subscribe on patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast per month, and you get our entire backlog of audio episodes. If you want to go even further and join the Enforcer tier, the RBP Gang tier is $5. The Enforcer tier is $10, and you immediately gain access to all of our episodes in full video as well. And we would greatly appreciate that. It means a lot. So get on there, patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast. Check it out and join a tier. Support the show. And I'm very thankful for those of you who are already there. Means the world. Doing this for a living has been a blast. I did not think growing up that I would have a cool job where I got to entertain people and talk about the funniest things in the world to me, and then also the most serious things in the world to me, like mental health and family and personal growth and therapy. And having RBP has truly been a blessing that really, truth be told, this show has gotten me through the hardest times in my life as well. As much credit as I give to my wife and my stepdaughter and my coworkers and my true friends, as I put it, my real friends, a lot of credit is given to you guys as well, to all of you who listen to this show, because it kept me going through a lot of really challenging times, and I'm ready to give back for all those times that y'all got me through. I'm looking to make sure that I get you through your hard times as well. I know I've been there for a lot of you already, and that means a lot to me too. It's very special to be able to communicate with so many of you on a one-on-one basis. Those of you who have DM'd me or emailed me asking for advice or support, I appreciate y'all so much. It means a lot. It gave me purpose, and I hope I was able to impart some level of wisdom or help onto you as well. But yeah, make sure you support our sponsors as well. Today's sponsors, manscaped.com, code RBP to keep your downstairs mix-up looking tight going into 2023 with 20% off plus free shipping. And of course, rocketmoney.com/RBP to manage your budget better and save money going into the new year. But sponsor support aside, the easiest and really, in my personal opinion, most meaningful way that you can support us in what we're doing here is by going to patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast and pledging a minimum of $5 a month to join that RBP Gang tier so that you get all the additional ad-free episodes. And if you're like, what the hell is he still talking about? Every week, pretty much, almost every single week, we try to do 4 a month at a minimum. We drop an ad-free premium edition of this show with all new material. It's brand new. It's not this version of the show with the ads removed. It's all new, unheard episodes that have not been released publicly outside of a few teasers with snippets here and there onto the Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube feeds, etc., to try to get more support from y'all. And we've done really well on Patreon over the years. We usually have around 1,000 subscribers on there. I think we've had up to 1,400 at one point back in the day when RBP was kind of at its height, before some of my let's just say personal issues got in the way in 2020, and we lost a lot of our listenership that year as a result. We've been building back ever since, and yeah, I think we're at like 880 or something now on Patreon. Would love to get back up around that 1,000 mark if possible going into next year. We're going to continue doing these ad-free premium episodes on Patreon like we have been every week, almost every week, as I said. And yeah, if you can make it happen, please make it happen. Patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast. Get on there today. Also hit bolenmedia.com/shop. If you're looking for some RBP merch, we've got good hat. I've got one of my favorite hats next to me here, the Astroworld themed Ross Bolen podcast hat that I'm holding up. You can see it if you're on YouTube. And speaking of which, you can watch full episodes of our show on youtube.com/at the Ross Bolen podcast. And going into 2023, we are going to be revitalizing the Ross Bolen podcast studio. We've got Jared coming back in town next week and actually bringing his brother Jeff, because Jeff is a camera and studio setup expert, to help us redesign the studio so that our videos are better formatted for YouTube. Today's episode is fine because it's just me. But with the setup we've had going when we have both myself and Jared on the microphone, it is not set up in a way that is conducive to success on YouTube. We have to have two separate cameras with, if you've ever watched on YouTube, it's just two vertical boxes, because the way we set up our studio back in 2020 or 2021, I believe it was really with the purpose of, maybe it was 2020. I think it was 2021. I don't know. This last few years is kind of a blur in some cases. But the purpose of our studio setup was to make sure that we could get as much social media growth as we could, particularly aimed at TikTok, and we've had a ton of success with that. But we found a ton of success on YouTube with Formula Bone. Jared has specifically, and we want to make sure that we can replicate that as much as possible with all of our other shows, the Ross Bolen podcast included, and Oysters, Clams, and Cockles included. So we want to have this studio set up in appropriately for YouTube, which is what we're going to be doing. So you can look forward to that as well. Things will look a little bit different if you're watching our show on YouTube or you're checking out clips on social media. And I'm really, really excited about that because we've had the same setup in here ever since we brought the production of our podcasts in-house into the Bolen Media Content House here in South Austin back in 2021 when Jared came aboard. So lots of stuff happening going into 2023. I'm trying to hire somebody to fulfill the ad sales and business development role here at our company as well. I said we've got 3 people full-time, myself, Jared, and Kate, and that's it. And that's because my wife, God bless her, has been working for us for free, essentially. Not essentially, she does not get paid. It's probably illegal in some way. Doing all of our ad sales and business development for over a year now. And with my son upcoming in February, she runs her own business, her own small business on the side. She's been doing this on the side. She runs her own small business. She's been doing ad sales and business development for us on the side, and she just doesn't have the capacity or the work capacity, as it were. She's fully capable, but she doesn't have the work bandwidth to handle that on her own anymore. So we're trying to hire somebody to take on that role as well, which, because we are so small and I'm trying to avoid taking on any investment money or venture capital money of any kind, it does put us in a bit of a financially stressful situation. So, I appreciate y'all so much. You listening, being here at all, you're immediately worthy of my thanks. I appreciate you. But if you can, go to bolenmedia.com/shop, grab some merch. If you can, go to patreon.com/Ross Bolen podcast and join our Patreon so that you can support us, because, you're going to see with the output and the work that I show how much this means to me and how much I'm trying to take it to the next level. But for now, please just take my word for it and go pitch in if you can, because we need it, man. We need the support. We are very, very little, and we are trying to get larger. So, yeah, follow us on social media as well. We're on TikTok and Instagram at The Ross Bolen Podcast and at Ross Bolen Pod on Twitter. I am Ross Bolen. You can follow me at WRBOLEN, at WRBolen on Twitter and Instagram. My first name is William. If you've never figured that out before, it's William Ross Bolen. That's why it's WR Bolen, of course, because when I wrote my New York Times bestselling book almost 10 years ago, it'll be 10 years since the release of the book on January 15th. It'll also be Bruce, my dog's 10th birthday on January 15th, just coincidentally there. But when I wrote that book, I made my author name on the book W.R. Bolen in an effort to shield my children from the disturbing nature of that novel when they came to be. And now they're coming to be, so I'm glad I did that. My name is Ross Bolen, though, but my Twitter and Instagram handles reflect my full name, William Ross Bolen, WR Bolen on Twitter and Instagram. So I hope that, for anybody who was like, I can't sleep until he explains his Twitter and Instagram handle, you're welcome. You're welcome. Sleep well tonight. And until next time, peace be with you and also with you.